Welcome to Virginia International Raceway for bonus coverage, as we have just wrapped up coverage of the SCCA Championship Runoffs, and we are introducing you this weekend to a class that will be part of the National Runoffs menu, shall we say, going forward, and that is Spec MX-5, SMX it's going to be called, and these are basically NC Miatas that are developed just maybe one step short of the MX-5 Cup races that we've been enjoying for many, many years. But the NC Miata is going to be the next wave of spec racers of the Miata stable, and we're looking forward to this one. And giving us a little heads up on what we can expect in this second of two races this weekend for these drivers is Hayward Wagner down on the pit lane.
Hey guys, what we're hoping for is to see some actual racing. Unfortunately, the race yesterday morning got full course caution pretty early for a big impact on the back straightaway, and took a little while to get walls repaired. So these guys signed up for a pair of races, but really haven't gotten the first one yet. But as you mentioned, this is the NC chassis of the Mazda MX-5, the third generation of the Miata, if you will. And we've got about 20 of them here on the grid, all spec cars, evenly matched, 2,500 pounds apiece. They're all running the 2-liter motor, and this is, as you mentioned, this is the likely future of production-based spec racing in SCCA. SMX will be a national class next year. It will be at the runoffs next year. This is the Pro Series, and they're going to give us a great scrap here to round out our weekend at VIR.
Thanks, Hayward. Appreciate that heads up. And Tom O'Gorman sitting here next to me. Tomo's certainly no stranger to spec racing, as well as your career. And we're going to go through a track map of this beautiful facility here at VIR. It's hosted us at the runoffs for 3 years, the last 2 in a row. And for those unfamiliar, take them around this 3.25 mile circuit.
Yeah, there's a lot of relevancy to this race, so I'm excited to talk about it and watch it. But here at VIR, the story for this class is going to be very similar to a lot of our other spec classes, and that's going to be drafting. It's going to be very difficult to break away because of these long straightaways, but it kicks off at the start-finish line down into turn 1. You can make the inside and outside work there, but oftentimes you want to be ahead or on the left side going into turn 3 as you sweep through NASCAR Bend into left hook at the lower S's through the snake, and that finishes off kind of our handling section. The most nimble car wins through there. Then we get into what becomes essentially a long quote-unquote straightaway, or a flat-out run from turns 4 all the way through the upper S's to turn 10. That's South Bend, where we have a big flick left over a blind crest. No arrow on these cars. This is going to be a big float through South Bend into Oak Tree at turn 12. Very important to get an exit because our next long straightaway is down to 13, 14, and 15. That's the roller coaster into Hog Pen at 16 and 17. Hog Pen also leads you onto an incredibly long straightaway that bends slightly to the right. So all of those long straightaways are going to be what makes or breaks this races for a driver.
Exactly right. And again, that we had scheduled for 2 races for this weekend. This is kind of a unique playoff opportunity. You can see the points. These drivers had their points total from the regular season, which has already concluded, basically wiped away. The top 10 were given a handful of bonus points to get things started, and then between these 2 races, which count double points to what they normally get throughout the course of the season, are going to determine who's going to go home with the $30,000 scholarship for the first place champion. Second gets $20,000, third gets $15,000. And the man who came into this with the most bonus points, Nathan Nicholson, is going to start this one on the pole. There you can see his red number 95, and already some scars on these cars because, again, we had a couple drivers who unfortunately are not going to take the start today. Will Robusto in the 22 and Nathan Saxon in the 16 involved in an incident on the very first lap, right at the top of the hill just before the roller coaster. Got into the tire barrier, and there was a lengthy repair for the tire barrier, and we ran out of time to get back racing. So we sort of had predicted to us, Tomo, that this race was going to be sort of all gloves off anyway because these guys are racing for a pretty substantial purse. It's going to be even more so since they didn't have a chance to do much wheel-to-wheel racing in the first one.
Correct. Yeah, this is the only race at the runoffs weekend that pays any money. Every other race race counts for a national championship.
Of course.
This is a little bit of a different thing, but it's the only one that pays money, and that's a heck of a lot of money. So 30,000, 20,000, 10,000, 7 and 5 all on the line for this race. And the format for this playoff is essentially that any driver can win. They get double points for this race. Everybody is still mathematically capable of winning, but the driver that has been at the top of the board the entire time is basically Nathan Nicholson, and he controlled yesterday's start of the race beautifully. He had started to break away before the full course caution. He was the highest scoring driver in the regular season. It's all very, very much leaning towards him being the favorite, but there's a lot of drivers that are, everybody starting this race is mathematically capable of winning. There's still a couple of drivers that are, I would say, kind of second. We've got Alex Bertagnoli, Noah Harmon, Westin Workman. Those are second, third, and fourth. They're the closest to being able to kind of pip Nathan Nicholson.
I've done sort of an unofficial points possibilities chart. If Nathan Nicholson finishes second or above, he clinches, but that's the only clinch scenario. Everybody below has an opportunity, just as Tomo said, to make this happen. Let's introduce the drivers quickly for you. Adam Gonzalez is in the number 87. The 79 is Spencer Bogar. Ethan Jacobs in the 199. The 195 is Rocco Pasquarella. The 75 is Donald Squirick. The 5 is Adrian Comstock. The 55 is Cam Eben. He's the son of Cliff Eben. The 19 is Nathan Saxon, or the 16, excuse me, Nathan Saxon. He will not be in the race. He was involved in that incident yesterday, as was Will Robusto in the 22. Then we move forward to Austin Hill in the number 8. The 86 is Jarrett Jones. The 9 is Reed Sweeney. The 113 is Westin Workman. The 77 is Nico Bratz. The 54 is Chase Jones. The 115 is Noah Harmon. And then we've got the 4 of Alex Bertagnoli and your pole sitter, the number 95 of Nathan Nicholson. They get, because it's double points, they get basically 50 points for a win, 42 for second, 36 for third, and then it goes down by 2-point increments all the way down to 16th, 36 for third, 34 for fourth, 32 for fifth, 30 for sixth, all the way down to the last one would be 10 points for 16th place.
I'll try to squeeze this in because we're hoping for a very action-packed full race that we may not get to talk about it, but Hayward alluded to this being a very high potential for the future of spec racing. You know, the answer is always Miata, of course, but if you think about the NA and NB Miatas and Spec Miata, those are getting to be pretty old cars. They're no longer having parts produced in certain parts of those cars. Obviously, the production side, the aftermarket is healthy, but this class is becoming a national class for next year's SCCA road racing program. So it will be a runoffs championship next year, but it also will give drivers a place to bring in a newer piece of equipment, not to replace Spec Miata necessarily, but to give another option. And the coolest part is these cars are very, very healthy and utilized in other forms of SCCA competition. So we have the autocross program, which already has a spec class with the FRS BRZ. When that came out, it's called Solo Spec Coupe. The NC Miata is highly likely to have its own spec class introduced using the same style of suspension parts and everything as Spec MX-5, and then we're introducing that at both the autocross and time trial levels if that all goes kind of accordingly to plan. So you would be able to buy an NC Miata, put the same suspension package and prep package on it for your autocross, then take it to road race, to club racing, and time trials, all in the same sort of prep. So that's a really universal package that I think it will make a really healthy program for all SCCA grassroots racing.
Exactly right, and the package that Mazda has come up with makes these cars, you know, pretty easy to develop on your own because the parts are all standard, and it's also easy to tech. For the club racing tech squad. So looking forward to this one, and hold your breath, because I have a feeling we're going to see a Donnybrook here as these drivers are slowly approaching the start-finish line. There's the green flag, and we are away. That red number 95 of Nicholson, and then right behind him the 115 of Noah Harmon.
Nicholson taking the chance to start rolling a little bit before the green flag, and that's going to give him nice control into turn 1. Everybody trying to get to the inside. It's the number 4 of Alex Bertagnoli that's going to try to loop the outside, but I think it's the 115 that sliced across his nose, yes, and the 77 is now side by side. So a good start for Noah Harmon in the 115. Ooh, little wiggle though.
Yeah, a little wiggle from the 115 of Noah Harmon, but he was able to gather it up. But Nathan Nicholson in that red number 95, the man at the point, as we're going 2x2 through the right-hander. Oh, the 77 gets wide, 2 wheels off in the dirt, but he's able to save it. Now he's going to probably jump the chicane, and that's going to kick up a big cloud of dust, making visibility a problem for the rest of the field as they go through the snake. But now they're approaching the climbing S's, and you can see these cars too wide heading into the climbing S's. Everybody looking to find a spot. Getting a replay of this first lap as they make their way through turn 5.
See, he pitches it sideways, pitches it back to the left, or to the right, excuse me, my left, his right, and then loses the back end just a little bit. But everybody spread out because of the visibility being lost. Number 115, Harmon trying to make a move up into Oak Tree. Last time we made it this far in the race, Nathan Nicholson was clear by like 10 car lengths. He was gone, and at this point, he's got a lot of pressure from Harmon, Bertagnoli. Chase Jones should be the next car in line. As Nico Bratz dropped back just a bit.
Yeah, and this is where we had the problem last time, just at the braking zone for the roller coaster. We had a couple cars dicing for position come together, and they spun off into the tire barrier, and there was extensive damage to the tire barrier that needed some repairing. As there's the 54 of Chase Jones, and right behind him now is the 9 of Reed Sweeney as he slots into that position as they work their way down the hill. So we got farther already than we got yesterday, and that's a good thing. As Nathan Nicholson drifting it right out to the edge with Noah Harmon and Alex Bertagnoli giving chase. Chase Jones, Nico Bratz in the 77 dropping back. He was the one who dropped the tires off there just past the left hook on the first lap. And drafting, of course, is going to be all important, as you would expect. Now popping out is the 115 of Harmon as they come down into turn 1 for the second time. Sweeping around the outside, the 55 of Cam Eben. Just inside of him is Westin Workman in the 113.
Yeah, I think I caught the 115 pushing the number 4, Bertagnoli, getting a big bump out of turn 1, almost sideways from Noah Harmon pushing on his back bumper.
Westin Workman diving down to the inside of Cam Eben, and it looks like he's gotten it done. So Westin Workman up into 6th spot. Then there's Cam Eben, then there's the 77 of Nico Bratz trying to recover from that little off-course or half-off-course that he had on the first lap.
Very common in this spec racing style. If the car in front gets a little bit loose or gets a little bit slow, you just keep your foot in it and you help them get back up to speed because it helps you and it helps them. And if you both lift, you both lose time. You're seeing that a couple different times as drivers just basically driving through the rear bumper of the car in front through the apex to keep them moving.
This is a 15-lap or 40-minute race, just as our gold medal races were for the SCCA Runoffs that just concluded. There's the 55 of Cam Eben, side by side with the 77 of Nico Bratz as they're battling for 6th position. As the field staying good, we've got a kind of a breakaway down through the 75 car of Donald Squirick, so the top 10 breaking away just a bit from the back half of the field. But Nathan Nicholson doing what he needs to do as he's going to try to get one hand on that $30,000 scholarship. But right behind him, Alex Bertagnoli, who is 2nd in the points coming into this finale, certainly hoping to deny him that opportunity.
Kind of have a kind of 3, kind of 6 car breakaway, but it is the top 10 that have separated themselves entirely from the rest of the pack. As Nathan Nicholson is controlling the race nicely, we don't see a huge effective draft on these cars down the back straightaway in the last couple of laps, so they might be a little more resistant to that than we see out of some of the other spec classes, or there's just a little bit of patience being displayed here on lap number 2 as we're starting lap 3 finally across the start-finish line.
Westin Workman coming under some pressure from Reed Sweeney. That's the battle for 5th spot. Sweeney in that number 9, just behind Workman in the 113. And just in front of them is Chase Jones in the 54. But back to the front now, as it is Nathan Nicholson with maybe a car length over the great battle between Bertagnoli in the 4 and Noah Harmon in the 115. And then just a little gap back to the Westin Workman battle that we've been following. It looks like Chase Jones got in front of him as we got the 8 car dropping a wheel off. That's Austin Hill. Austin, a youngster who has mostly open wheel experience, but doing very well in this championship. And he's looking to get himself up into the battle. Austin races with us at the Formula Regional Americas Championship. He's a 2-time FRP Atlantic champion as they work their way through the climbing S's.
So the second car in line we're taking a look at right there, Alex Bertagnoli. If he wins and our leader, Nathan Nicholson, finishes third, he will win. But as long as Nathan Nicholson stays in the top two, he'll clinch this $30,000 prize and the playoffs, I guess the championship round for Spec MX-5. Noah Harmon has to work a little bit harder yet as he sits third. Yes. Only 43 points coming into this race.
If he takes the win, he would have 93 points, and that would mean Nicholson would have to finish fifth or below for him. Again, these points intervals that I'm giving you are absolutely unofficial. I did the math myself last night, but that's what I believe to be the situation. And of course, there could be post-race penalties applied as well, although there weren't any after the race on Saturday morning.
And if I'm Nathan Nicholson, that I'm seeing in my mirrors, I've got kind of a 5-car breakaway forming, but it's really just the top 3 that seem to be able to stick together. And as long as they kind of stay in this formation for a couple more laps, he's almost guaranteed to be able to fight his way into the top 2. But he doesn't have to work that hard as this field spreads out more and more. It's going to become easier and easier for him to maintain that top spot, and it's going to become harder and harder, almost impossible for Harmon to win it all.
And once again, Bertagnoli literally right on the back bumper of Nathan Nicholson, and he's just biding his time. I think he's staying right with Nicholson and letting him know that he's there. Just a little tap on the bumper as we got a battle for between the 77 of Nico Bratz and Reed Sweeney as they go side by side through NASCAR. Sweeney trying to take over that position, or hold on to that position, I should say, as Bratz not quite able to close that pass.
And that's the car that went off at this section of the track on the first lap, so he's on a kind of a comeback drive. Whatever game plan he had is out the window, and he's just got to get scrappy and try to fight his way forward as he's still sitting in that 8th spot. Worked an over-under a couple different times on the back of Reed Sweeney, but wasn't able to make it work for him as they're finally flashing through the camera there.
Chase Jones and Westin Workman nose to tail. That's the battle for 4th and 5th. That's the 2 cars you see just behind the lead 3, and then a little gap back to Cam Eben in the 6th place. The 77 of Bratz. And now side by side coming into Oak Tree. The 113 of Workman trying to get around Chase Jones, and I think he's gotten it done. 3 abreast for the lead as the 3rd place runner, Noah Harmon, decides he's going to go for it. And I believe he's gotten to the front. Now Nathan Nicholson is in the 2nd spot. He can afford to stay there, but he can't go any lower than that, especially if Bertagnoli can get around him and take over the lead. But look, he's hooked up in the draft, and Nicholson getting pushed back to the front as Bertagnoli in that 4 car has been his best buddy, drafting-wise at least. But a new 3rd place runner is Noah Harmon. Or excuse me, Westin Workman now up into that 3rd spot. Noah Harmon drops back to 4th. Chase Jones at the tail end of now this 5-car lead draft.
That was a really close call for Nathan Nicholson, and it was all on his own. He made a mistake, ran a little bit wide coming in to Oak Tree, and actually the other guys around him were super heads up to not have any contact or push him even further off the track. Everybody left space for everybody. I'm surprised, but I'm impressed that stayed as clean as it did. Now the 113, Westin Workman, is going to get himself all the way up to 2nd, maybe a big bump draft from the 115 behind. Harmon pushes him into 2nd place.
Indeed, Westin Workman, the man on the move right now, is just a lap ago he was back in 5th, and now he is in 2nd spot as they run right now. Just behind him is Noah Harmon. Alex Bertagnoli shuffled back into 3rd position.
Oh, he's going to go up the inside. He gets a little bit underneath the 95 and makes it go. And if he can maintain that inside spot, he's not going to be able to do it into 4. That was going to be a really close call, and it's going to bring the number 4 up on his right side, which will be good. 3 wide for a moment in the snake. That's almost unheard of as the Bertagnoli car tries to get back in there.
Yeah, Bertagnoli in the 115 made it 3 wide as they went through the snake. It looks like Workman has been able to slot back into 2nd spot. Then it's Bertagnoli. Then it's the 4 of it's Harmon, then Bertagnoli. There we go. And then right behind him is Chase Jones.
Really well raced from Westin Workman to work his way into 2nd spot and not lose positions as he gets racy. There's a little flick for Nathan Nicholson across the apex of South Bend, and this is turning back into about an 10 car race. Packs of 5 and 5 after that mistake from Nathan Nicholson really pivoted this race we thought it was going one direction into a 3-horse race, and now it's just all 10 cars again.
Yeah, and again, you know, such a contrast to what we saw in the early running yesterday, where, as you mentioned, Tomo, Nicholson had a 10-car length advantage after one lap, and we thought he was going to run away with it. Not the case here, as everybody's right on his bumper. And look at Westin Workman giving him a push up the hill, and then a little gap back to the 115 of Noah Harmon.
Cam Edden going for a move on the 54 of Chase Jones. They're going to swap positions. And now the 55 car up into the top 5. A little bit of contact behind for the 77. Nico Bratz gets a little bit doored from Donald Squirick, I think, in the 75. Yes, indeed.
And Jarrett Jones right there to pick up the pieces if these two come together.
That's going to kind of separate that 10-car train now down to 7. This is very frequent in Spec Me out of the older version of these cars. We'll see a big train of 10 cars, and then it'll go to 7, then it'll go to 6, then it might go to 4. You know, they just kind of whittle it down as both drivers waving to each other, sorry about that, and we're going to work back together. 75 pushing 77, but Westin Workman is racy right now.
Yeah, in fact, he's forcing Nicholson to go a little bit defensive. Nicholson not taking the prime entry line into turn number 1 because he's guarding Westin Workman from diving down to the inside and taking away his opportunity. So he's driving a little bit defensively, and that's playing right into the hands of Westin Workman in the 113.
Then right behind, Harmon and Bertagnoli still latched onto the back. Then it's a little bit of a gap to Cam Evan. That happened because they passed for that 5th position a couple of corners ago. You lose touch every single time you make a move like that, so you have to be so calculated in spec racing to when you make the move, what are the consequences of this move, and if it doesn't work, how much longer is it going to take for me to get back to momentum, as you can see that 4-car train breaking away.
Westin Workman showing a fender to our leader, Nathan Nicholson, as they head for the climbing S's one more time. As we are approaching or working race lap number 6, and as we're about halfway through, let's give one final opportunity for you to hear from a couple of the partners that make the racing possible here for this bonus coverage for the 60th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs.
Okay, so pretend this is your race car. It's on the trailer on the way home after a day at the track. And say you have an accident. Ouch. But at least your truck's insurance will pay for another one? Yeah, not so fast. Your standard insurance probably won't pay to replace your car. That's true whether it's in the trailer, in the paddock, in the garage, or in the repair shop. If you want to be covered for the whole value of your race car, you need guaranteed value coverage from Hagerty. We agree on an accurate value up front, and in event of a covered total loss anywhere off the track, we pay that amount. You'll be protected in storage, in transit, in the paddock, or a repair shop against collision, fire, theft, no matter what or where you race. All for less per year than you spend on a set of racing tires. Hagerty, let's drive together.
A car like this shouldn't exist. Something this big, this luxurious, shouldn't move like a Mazda. And yet, it does.
Oh my God, it sounds epic as well. This car is an SUV with bragging rights.
The 3-row Mazda CX-90.
Welcome back as we're working race lap number 7 of the finale of the season for the SMX Championship. This is just kind of a way to whet your appetite for what's going to happen, as this will be a runoffs class next year. These do not count for gold medals, but these drivers are working their way around to potentially a $30,000 scholarship to move up to MX-5 Cup next season. As these drivers working their way through the climbing S's, the red car in front is the points leader. He has to finish in the lead or in second to clinch that $30,000 scholarship. But he's got some very hungry drivers behind him. I think I've been most impressed with the run of Westin Workman, who started this race back in 6th position, and he's been picking his way forward and now is running a very solid 2nd spot.
These drivers only got one qualifying session and about a 7/10 of a lap yesterday.
Yeah.
So the qualifying order and the fastest laps that we have on our grid here may not be fully indicative of what the capabilities are, as we see the two cars in the front kind of working together. Workman pushing Nathan Nicholson away, who is your leader. Then Noah Harmon, who had a big moment over the curbs at the top of the S's, getting pushed by Alex Bertagnoli. Here's the 54 on the inside, now the outside of the 75. Very close stuff into roller coaster.
Chase Jones and Donald Squirick in those two, just in front of them, the 77 of Nico Bratz, as they were side by side all the way down Madison Avenue, or up Madison Avenue, I should say, as they worked their way down through the hog pin turn. Right at the tail end with the white with sort of the maroon two-tone. That's Jarrett Jones at the tail end of the top 10. Good run for the 75 of Donald Squirick as he's able to get back around Chase Jones. 3 wide into the braking zone for this battle, and we've got contact and a spin once again from Nico Bratz. He was forced wide on the very first lap, dropping 2 wheels off at the right-hander just past the left hook. And he fell well back, and he's going to do it all over again.
Yeah, gets the short end of the stick twice this race, and that was just an overly optimistic move from the 54 of Chase Jones. Goes to the inside now, late on the brakes, surprised even late on the brakes. On the 75, it gets doored there, and it's the 77 that had no chance to see any of it coming that gets the really short end of the stick. But it started with, again, the 54 Chase Jones getting into the side of the 75 Donald Squirick. We'll just check and see if there's any sort of residual suspension damage or just door and fender panels that need massaging.
And I think Reed Sweeney was the benefactor of that. He was able to duck inside all of them and move up into 6th spot, but we'll sort that as they come back into our view. But this 3-car breakaway at the front, Nathan Nicholson, he was the regular season points winner. Westin Workman right behind him, then the 115 of Noah Harmon, then the gray car. And then that's Alex Bertagnoli, who came into this race second in the points in the number 4. Then a kind of a big gap back to Cam Evan running all by himself in the 5th spot. And then behind him is that little squabble that we just saw. And I believe that's Reed Sweeney up at the front of that 4-car battle. But here come our leaders down the little dip and then climb once again up to the little jink to the left before they drive off the edge of the earth and down the roller coaster.
So we haven't seen these drivers race much this weekend because of that incident yesterday, but these drivers have raced each other all year.
Yeah.
So they know what the ebb and flow of this race series and what these cars can do. We haven't seen them sampling much, but I think that's because they know the last lap is really the last chance, and I bet it's going to change between hog pen and the start-finish line. It will definitely change positions down the back straight if there are cars close together. You can see Workman continually pushing Nathan Nicholson down the front straight, and I say that because in other races at the championship runoffs, we've seen drivers kind of trying and sampling things, testing the waters. These drivers are so much more dialed to exactly what's happening, basically the same level as Spec Miata, and I don't think any other class really has that coordination. So that's why we're seeing them really what we call co-opetition, right? You're kind of working with the cars around you until it's time to race. At least at the front.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
here.
And it was Reed Sweeney, or Jarrett Jones, excuse me, in that that number 66 car that got up into, or 86, that got up into 6th spot. That's Reed Sweeney right behind him, then Chase Jones. And Squirick, Austin Hill, Ethan Jacobs, your top 11. Every one of these drivers that compete in this championship weekend will get at least $2,000. So they are all going to get some cash payout no matter where they finish, but it's the top 5 that get the big payouts. There's also there's a kind of a hard charger award for both of the weekend races, as well as a couple awards for the teams. But these guys are battling for their best possible finish, setting the stage for perhaps, and then there goes the 9 of Reed Sweeney, all 4 wheels off at the exit of South Bend, and I don't think he ever lifted.
No, it's a very uncomfortable ride. That's 2
man.
times his lap. The number 9 has been off the track, and he's going to almost do it again coming off of Oak Tree. So Reed Sweeney's a little frantic right now. You really have to trust the float of these cars, and you see it grips up just a moment. He's got his hands centered, which means the car goes over to the right off the track, and he's basically got to hang on. And honestly, he didn't lift, because if he did, he was going to go for a bigger ride than that.
Yeah, absolutely right. Here we go, a challenge for the lead as Westin Workman taking a nose ahead at roller coaster, and he's got that pass made. Now the question is, can Nathan Nicholson retake that top spot? He's safe where he is right now. If he were to finish in this position, he would still clinch the championship, but if he loses another spot, he runs the risk of losing that championship to Bertagnoli.
Now we're going to see for real what these cars have down this front straightaway. Nathan Nicholson needs to be in the top 2, which means he wants to stay in the front. I'm surprised he didn't go for a move here. He pushed Workman into the braking zone rather than try to get back to the top spot, and now he's under threat from that the next car on track, the 115, and Noah Harmon looks up the inside. The outside momentum is going to pay off still, but I think Nathan Nicholson is in a risky position, although he knows that Westin Workman isn't really a threat in the points. He can finish behind Westin Workman and one other car as long as that other car is not winning the race.
Yeah, if Westin Workman were to take the win, Nathan Nicholson would have to finish, by my unofficial math, would have to finish 6th or above in order to clinch the championship. So the car that he's most at risk to is Alex Bertagnoli, who is right now 4th in this train. So each car that goes further down the order is less of a challenge to him. If Westin Workman were to win, he could finish at the tail end of these 4 cars and still clinch the championship. Here's the battle with Chase Jones, Jarrett Jones right behind him, and then the 75 of Donald Squirick diving to the inside just as they approach the South Bend.
It's like a mechanical failure there for the 86. Pulled off to the side, realized that he had a problem.
Jarrett Jones, yeah.
No drive in that car.
It's the 9 of Reed Sweeney. Right in front, or right behind, should we say, Donald Squirick. And then in front of them is now Chase Jones. Jarrett Jones going slowly. He will probably pull off in the south pits here. As we turn our attention back to the front, and Westin Workman getting away just a little bit at the front of this one.
Yeah, and look at the 115. Noah Harmon got by. If Harmon can get to the front, that's really starting to put Nathan Nicholson in a risky position. That red car is the car that is leading the points championship for this championship round of Spec MX-5. Oh, and he gets a big slide, hooks the curb through the Ogpen corner, and has to catch the car. But it looks like he got a decent run still. It was actually Noah Harmon that got a poor run. And it's going to be the 95 of Nicholson that pops to the outside, going the long way around. All of this is letting Westin Workman get away. Look at the big gap he's got now.
Yeah, Westin Workman, if he does take the win, that would mean that Nathan Nicholson would have to finish 6th or above to clinch the championship. So at the moment, Nicholson is still pretty secure with the way the field is running right now. All that he needs to have happen is some kind of incident that takes him out of the top 6, and then he's in trouble.
Well, and the other car he's got to worry about, really, the closest car he's got to worry about, I should say, is the number 4, which is still behind him.
Yep.
The number 115 getting a little behind in the lower S is going to hold them up even further. And at this point, they're out of the draft. They're going to need to start working together and pushing each other back towards the front of Westin Workman. But it's impossible to communicate to each other other than with hand motions that they're going to try. It looks like Nicholson is believing that they can as he tucks into the back and pushes Harmon up the hill.
Noah Harmon in 2nd spot, Nicholson 3rd, Alex Bertagnoli 4th, then Cam Evan in the 55 in that 5th spot. And then this great battle just behind them, the 54 of Chase Jones. And there's the 75 of Donald Squirick. And at the tail end of that, the car that had the rough ride, Reed Sweeney in the 9, as they come into Oak Tree.
Big slide for the 54 coming into Oak Tree, but it was actually perfect rotation. Gets a decent drive off of Oak Tree. And I was going to call out the fastest car on the track last time through was Cam Evan up in 5th. You can see him catching this pack of cars as they've had a couple of exchanges for position. He may find himself within striking distance of a podium if they have 1 or 2 more of those.
You can see going side by side, Squirick and Chase Jones. And Squirick, I think, got that pass done as he moves up. Back up into 6th. He had dropped back to 7th, but then he was able to repass Chase Jones in the 54 as they tumble down the hill. This is the battle for 6th and 7th as we are working race lap number 11. We're just about to finish it. In fact, have just finished it. So working race lap 12 for our leaders. These guys battling about 4 or 5 seconds back of the lead.
Pass for second, 95. The Nathan Nicholson car goes up the inside of the 115 of Noah Harmon, and they're still door to door. This is guaranteeing even more that Westin Workman is going to get away in the top spot, but we're running out of time. 4 laps to go. Big knife underneath. The 115 responds, leaves him room, and loses it in the dirt.
goes just a little bit wide, and now that's going to let Bertagnoli get right on the back of Nathan Nicholson. Meanwhile, Westin Workman motoring away at the front. He had a second at the stripe, and it's certainly more than that now as these three are squabbling.
We wondered if they were going to work together. I think that's out the window at this point. They do still have 3 laps to reorganize themselves, but it looks like it's a 3-car race for second with Westin Workman coming up from 6th on the grid. Don't forget that. An impressive drive for the 113.
Yeah, no question.
You can see these cars moving on the surface. They really are driver's cars. I've had the chance to drive one. They move a lot more on the surface than a Spec Miata in a little bit of a different way, a classic Spec Miata, I should say, and it creates this really cool understanding of weight transfer, weight dynamics, and momentum that will make you a good driver in any style car. And it's even cooler to hear bit of tire squeal in the background, but really cool to hear that that's going to be incorporated across an autocross class, time trial class, most likely, that you could literally do the entire ladder into that Mazda ladder from a parking lot.
And the NCs are a little heavier than the NAs and NBs, right?
Yeah, they're actually the heaviest Miata ever produced.
Because the NDs went back to being lighter again.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I mean, a heavy Miata is an oxymoron.
Perfectly well said. Little love tap there between the 115 of Harmon and the 4 of Bertagnoli. As Westin Workman looking for the win here. And Nathan Nicholson perfectly happy to let him have it as long as he finishes in second.
Whatever Nicholson is doing to manipulate that car into hog pen, it gets a big rotation through the apex every single time. And he predicts it, and he carries it through the apex every lap. Now the number 4, Alex Bertagnoli, up to 3rd, into a podium position, pushes the 95 of Nicholson into the braking zone, but the 115 is going to try to go around the outside. This momentum has worked a number of times, and it's going to work again by the looks of it.
Yeah, the 115 of Harmon looks like he's got that position done as Bertagnoli drops back to 4th now. But Nicholson, the steady presence in the 2nd spot. Again, hand signals indicating, hey, get in line. Let's draft and catch this guy. As they're not afraid to use the curbs at all in these cars as they're jumping them through the snake, the lower S's, if you will, then a little straight shot under the bridge where our commentary position is. And then they hit the climbing S's. Cam Eben there, and that.
This is further back in the pack, a big spin, a self-spin for the 79.
Spencer Bogar.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a ride, and it's really easy to lose the passenger side of the car coming down the roller coaster like that, especially with a car in front to focus on.
Reed Sweeney at the tail end of this 4-car draft. And again, dropping a wheel off is the 75 of Donald Squirick. And now here comes the 8 of Austin Hill.
Just chucks it up the inside at Oak Tree and is going to be 2nd place. The 75 car, who was off at South Bend, is going to get a bit of a gift of a gap. You see the mirror folded on the passenger side of that car. He's had one of the more exciting races for sure. That's Donald Squirick. Then Austin Hill, Chase Jones, Reed Sweeney in that order, running 5th through 8th.
You can see the
9th.
You can see the overall leaders disappearing down the roller coaster. Battle between Austin Hill and Chase Jones at the top of the hill, with Reed Sweeney right at the tail end.
54 with a little kiss on the back bumper of the 8, and kind of backs up the number 9. The 9 is behind it. Reed Sweeney through hog pen. Going to lose touch just a little bit. Runs wide.
Austin Hill drops 2 wheels off. That's going to wreck.
Sketchy.
That's going to wreck his momentum. He's not able to get back in line. Up in front, the 75 of Squirick now, moving up into that 6th spot as these guys continue to squabble with Hill and Reed Sweeney going side by side. Hill does the over-under. Now he's on the outside as they approach NASCAR. But I think Sweeney's going to have the better line. But Hill hanging strong. Not quite able to close it. He might be able to duck to the inside and left hook. Nope, he's going to stay single file. This is for 7th, 8th, and 9th. As we are working race lap 14. White flag next time by.
At the front, the second place pack was able to catch Westin Workman just a little bit as they agreed to not race each other too hard last lap. But coming to the last lap, I can assume that that will not be the case.
Those bets are all off when that happens, I'm sure. It'll be every man for himself as they work their way through South Bend. Chase Jones carrying great momentum up into Oak Tree. But Austin Hill is impressive here. He's done a good job. So has Reed Sweeney. Both of them have been right on it.
Just taking a peek at your unofficial calculations. In this layout where we sit right now, there is no scenario where Nathan Nicholson doesn't win as long as he stays in the top 4. So I can guarantee if he's being smart about it, I should say, he will not race too hard. As long as he finishes in that top group, he's got $30,000 for a scholarship to move up to Spec or Global MX-5. But in the heat of the moment, everything is about trying to finish as far up as possible. As he still runs second, but again, he can finish 4th, and they've got a pretty big gap back to 5th. Cam Eben kind of in no man's land, 3 seconds behind them.
And again, I want to reinforce our points predictions are absolutely unofficial. We are just doing the math to try to keep you apprised of what is at stake here as we understand it.
Oh, the 115 Harmon trying hard to get around the outside, and the 95 of Nicholson is not having it. The red car keeping the inside and taking the shorter distance to maintain second place. Protects on the inside of NASCAR. The 115 maybe going to try the over-under. Goes for the momentum through the corner. The 95 predicts it and blocks it. And he's going to have the better track position coming into turn 4. But he runs it wide. He's behind. He's got to get it gathered up.
Yeah, Nathan Nicholson, really busy hands through that section of this, and he gets tapped. This is exactly what he does not want to happen.
I can't believe he let that happen. He needs to stay in 4th. If he gets the clutch dumped fast enough, I think he's down to 5th. But the number 55 of Cam Eben dove off the track to avoid him. He did get through, so that's going to put Nicholson to 5th. And here's another look at it. This is a different look.
Yeah, this is the final lap as Austin Hill gets 4 wheels off. As this huge cloud of dust. So here comes Nathan Nicholson. Let's see where he lands. Westin Workman, again, came into this race in 4th position. If he wins, he'll have 89 points. And in order to have 90 or more, Nathan Nicholson has to finish 6th or above. So that's 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. 4th, 5th. So at the moment, I think he's safe.
He's safe.
But he may not be if he lets Donald Squirick get around him.
If Alex Bertagnoli can get to 2nd place, he will be in the best position, and I guarantee he knows that. They have to know every scenario. He's going for the move. He's on the preferred side for the moment, and he makes the move happen. He's to 2nd place, and again, unofficially, we believe that would put him in enough points to take the win in this championship.
Absolutely.
But they have one more critical straightaway, and Noah Harmon's going to come back at it. I think Noah Harmon is not quite as fortunate. No, he is. He would be able to get there too. This is the race for the championship between these 2 cars. The 4 has it right now. Bertagnoli racing to 2nd place. Workman at the front.
Here they come. Workman's going to take the checkered flag, but it may not be enough for the championship as they come across the line. I think Bertagnoli did it, and by my unofficial calculation, I believe he is the champion. As here comes a very, I'm sure, disappointed Nathan Nicholson, as he is going to come across the line in 6th position. And that'll give him 90 points, but Bertagnoli finishing 2nd has 98.
Nathan Nicholson dropped to 8th place. That would be enough for Westin Workman, we believe. I mean, we're going off of a spreadsheet we made ourselves, but this is the moment where it all fell apart. For some reason, the 95 of Nicholson probably saw that the 115 dove up the inside, still raced for that position, got himself turned, and it all crumbled.
So Bertagnoli finishing 2nd gives him 90 points. Westin Workman with the win gives him 89 by my math.
Okay.
So that still gives Bertagnoli the best opportunity for the win. Noah Harmon started this in 3rd. He finished in 3rd spot. That would give him 79 points, so that wouldn't be enough. So we think, unofficially at least, that Alex Bertagnoli did not win the race, but he may well have won the championship once everybody sorts out the official points rather than our unofficial reckoning.
That was a great race from Westin Workman. He got racy at the right moments. He didn't take the biggest risks in the world because he was able to recover from those attacks very, very well. That number 113, the white and purple, or silver and purple, from 6th to 1st. Bertagnoli second, Noah Harmon third. Cam Eben with a very lonely race ends up just off the podium in 4th. And Donald Squarick in the 75 had an eventful race. As boring as Cam Evans may have been, the 75s was super exciting. He ends up with a top 5 for it all.
Cam Eben is certainly in the frame for the Hard Charger Award. He started back in 12th position, and a run up into 4th may put him right in the frame for that Hard Charger Award, as our top 3 working their way down the hill on their cool-down lap. Westin Workman. Westin Workman taking the overall win in this final round, but I don't think it was enough to get him to the top spot and to win that championship. And he's still certainly going to be in play for either the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th place championships as he comes down the hill. And the 3rd member of our broadcast team will be there to chat him up. Pretty exciting stuff, Tomo.
Yeah, this is super promising. I can't wait for next year's Runoffs race.
Oh yeah,
if
absolutely.
That's a hint of what we're going to see. See Westin Workman with the win, about a second over Bertagnoli and Harmon, who came across pushing each other. Harmon popped at the last second, but didn't have enough momentum off of Oak Tree. And then the rest of the top 10 there.
Cam Eben, Donald Squirick, Reed Sweeney, Austin Hill, Nathan Nicholson, Chase Jones, and Ethan Jacobs, the unofficial finishing order. But the Spec MX-5 Cup stewards will make the final analysis. As Hayward Wagner has our winner, as Westin Workman getting himself unbuckled. Take him a minute to get his belts unbuckled, get the window netting down, and he'll climb out, get the helmet off, and Hayward will have a chance to talk to him as he celebrates the victory.
Getting congratulations here for Westin. We're going to pull the helmet off. Westin Workman started, I think, 5th on the grid. Does that sound right?
6th place.
6th place on the grid. Didn't give you quite enough credit, and drove it all the way to the front. It looked like from the time they dropped the green, you were just on a mission.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, I knew I had to get to the front after starting P6. We had a pretty bad qualifying. We were having trouble with the right front suspension, and we didn't get the lap we wanted. And it's impossible to know if I would have won yesterday, but I think if we would have got a race yesterday, I would have challenged pretty hard for that win there. So, yeah, I'd like to thank Formidable Racing, my parents, Fast Cooling, everybody on the car. I mean, everybody who helped me get to this point winning this race.
Well, congratulations to you. One fantastic drive. I think we're going to get you a victory lap. Enjoy that one.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations to Westin Workman. Just as he said, what a great drive after starting outside of row 3. And he just kept chipping away at it and finally made the pass. Once he did, uncharacteristically in a spec class, he was able to drive away from that pack of cars right behind him. So good job for Westin Workman. He's certainly got a bright future, no question about it. All of these youngsters looking to move up into Global MX-5 Cup and perhaps beyond. But the cool thing is that we'll get to see these cars racing in the runoffs next season and beyond. Let's go back down to Haywood with the balance of our podium and perhaps our championship winner.
Alex, we're speculating you may have won this championship. There's some numbers that still need to be crunched. Of course, everybody's going to go through impound and all those things. You knew what you had to do and you did it. How did it feel?
Oh, it feels good. I don't want to get my hopes up yet because, you don't want to celebrate and then, have it not go your way. But I was hanging on for dear life. Didn't quite have the pace that I wanted there in that race. But, all the hard work that my team has put in this year has given me a great car to hang on there right at the end and, move up positions when it counted. So it feels good.
Now, obviously, SCCA is bringing this car to national level competition next year. Give folks a little preview. What's it like to drive one of these cars?
Well, I will say it is some of the most fun I've had in racing. These cars race fantastic. We've had such a competitive field all year long. And, like I said before, this is some of the best racing I've had. And I can't wait for it to become a national class. It's going to bring a lot of opportunity.
Well, congratulations to you on second. We're going to bring Noah up here next. Noah, you were in the thick of it from the start of this one. Talk about your race.
Yeah, it was really good. The top 4 of us kind of broke away for a bit there. It was really tight racing. We were switching a lot. Me and Westin were trying to get ahead of Nathan, and he eventually got away a bit, and we tried to hunt him down, but we didn't quite get there at the end.
Well, congratulations on a podium here at the Runoffs.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hayward. Thanks for all your work all weekend long as we have the highlights of this finale for the Spec MX-5 Cup. And the points leader, Westin Workman, getting off to a good start. But he had company all race long. Right behind him, Noah Harmon, just on this first lap as they're working their way 2 abreast down through NASCAR. There's the 4 of Alex Bertagnoli, who we think may have clinched the championship with a strong drive. Side-by-side racing all the way throughout. The 77 had an eventful day. Nico Bratz with a couple off-course excursions, and then this wild ride for Reed Sweeney. Man, oh man, a bucking bronco, I'll tell you. And Sweeney still managed to salvage a 6th place finish. Here is the pass for the win of this race for Westin Workman as he ran down our, at that time, leader, Nathan Nicholson, who led virtually every lap of this race but the last one. This is the final lap is the 1:15 of Noah Harmon. Went a little wide. Then they threw the left hook, and this is where it all went pear-shaped as Harmon with a little bit of a love tap. And the leader went spinning and also went spinning his chances for the championship. Battling all through the field all the way down the order as Reed Sweeney and the 54 of Chase Jones going after it as they got by Nathan Nicholson in the run to the flag. And that puts Nicholson even further down the points table. But hey, a great job for Westin Workman. He deserved it. He is, like I said, starting 6th, picked his way to the front, and then pretty much put some distance on the field. So with that, a great bit of bonus coverage for you, giving you just a taste of what we're going to see next year. Tomo, I'm looking forward to this as part of the Runoffs regime next year.
Yeah, this will be a really cool class. And again, with it being integrated in a number of ways throughout the club, this will be a nationals class next year. We'll award a national championship at Road America for the very first time in Spec MX-5. The very similar prep kit, we understand, will also be applied to a new solo spec class and time trial spec class. So if you thought that looked like fun, the plan, the idea, the pitch is you can go buy that kit from Tire Rack and you can build your car from an autocross car to a time trials car to a road race car. You can do all 3 potentially. Yep. I mean, who was it? It was the 9, Reed Sweeney, I think, or Austin Hill, one of the 2, showed us maybe it can be good for rallycross too. Well, a couple of them did that, I think.
Yeah, exactly right. So something to look forward to for next season, sort of the next generation of Spec Miata. On behalf of our entire broadcast crew, once again, Tom O'Gorman and Hayward Wagner, I'm John Phippen. Thank you for being with us for this bonus coverage, just getting a taste of what we can look forward to next season for Spec MX-5. Thanks for being with us.
Mazda's been very supportive of racers within the SCCA and all the other grassroots organizations for many, many years. Really, their support for racing and our type of racing is unmatched from any other manufacturer. They've been a great partner for many, many years.
Mazda, hands down, is the best company to work with for sports car racing. Factory support is second to none. It just feels right. You feel connected.
And we're back to wrap up the 60th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs here at Virginia International Raceway. Back-to-back years in 22 and 23, and we have had some fantastic racing. Thank you, Gumby, for introducing us. And we start out the day with Formula 600, Calvin Stewart, taking his 2nd national championship, and the guy in front of him, the 78, put on a fantastic show of a very loose race car. But Cal Stewart had the horsepower to make this pass on the run to the flag, and take his second national championship.
That was such a good race. And then in B-Spec, we had a really, really good one, but it started a little bit sloppy. We had a couple cars head off the track. We had a brief full course caution, especially the defending champion falling off, but congrats to Rich Roman on winning that one.
Formula F, Nolan Aller once again taking the top spot after a fantastic battle between these three guys. Aller finally squeaking it out at the end over Andy Kotick as they made the run to the line. Here comes Aller as they're going side by side with a lapped car just in front of him. Aller taking his second gold medal of the runoffs.
And then my race of the day, STU,
no question,
saw the winner, Chip Herr, drive from the front row to the tire wall back to the win before this H Production battle.
H Production also great fun. You know, a great mix of slightly more contemporary front wheel drive cars and the little British cars sort of at the tail end. But then we had the final gold medal race of the day for Touring 2. Kurt Resodato continues his domination with Scotty B. White, once again the bridesmaid.
Then F Production, this is rewinding back a couple days. This was a very exciting race before another great one. We had so many good races. T4 also, the 95, there just could not find a way around Devin Anderson in that number 11 car, and he took the championship.
Exactly. And then we go back to A Sedan. There's Clark Camburn in that number 78 Challenger, who almost got it done, but finished on the box.
Big hit in E Production, a self spin for Jeff Young, and then a couple cars collected in that one, but it was Cliff Ira that took the win, or Greg Ira that took the win there.
Then we got into STL and a big battle there with the eventual podium sitter. We also had a great Spec Racer Ford race.
See a little mistake out of Wade Turner, and it's going to allow Dave Ogburn to knife underneath, but it was Frank Futrell that took the win there.
Frank Futrell getting that job done, as he was right in the thick of it earlier on. And then a family affair in Formula Continental as Nolan Aller taking the win, his dad finishing in second.
First podium finish for Travis Wache and the GTI, knifing over and under Rob Hines, but it was Jason Ott that took the win. Steve Ott that took the win in T3. Just a little bit of a flavor of what we've enjoyed all weekend long. I want to thank my co-announcer, Tom O'Gorman. Great working with you, Tomo. We also had Larry McLeod, of course, Hayward Wagner down in the pit lane, and my good friend, Greg Kramer, and I sharing the play-by-play. It's been great fun. I so enjoy doing these weekends. And yeah, let's do a quick run around the track with all the camera operators that braved it. Turning the cameras back on themselves after operating for 3 days. The Apex Productions team just doing such a great job capturing all of these. You have to understand racing, but you have to understand the technology side. You have to predict and chase these cars around. It's been absolutely fantastic and mind-blowing the way that they can be prepared for just about anything out there while these races are being shot. I can't say enough good things about the whole Apex broadcast crew. There's a good look of the truck. You can see Clark, the major domo of Apex Broadcast, who makes this all possible. These guys do it better than anybody else in the country, and it's just an honor to have an opportunity to call these races with such great imagery. I'm glad they didn't put a camera in here. Yeah, me too. Yeah. All right, that's going to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen. Safe journey home wherever you're headed. Some of you got a long tow ahead, but we hope to see you in 1 year's time. And guess what? It's all at Road America, America's National Park of Speed. Can't wait. We'll see you next year. Have fun, everybody.